I am your host, Maya May. I am here today with Dr. Nola Hines, who is the political science professor at Georgetown, in national security specialist, expert, also the host of Nightcap. And there's a lot of stuff going on with national security. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Yeah, one or two things going on in national security. Actually, I just had a briefing this morning about some of those national security concerns and how Americans are feeling about national security. However, what's interesting, what's in the news today is that we don't have to take our shoes off anymore.
Yeah.
Well, well,
And
if you had, what is it?
TSA Precheck. If you
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah,
TSA
you can keep your shoes on.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, how are they going to try to sell TSA PreCheck now? Because the main reason a lot of people wanted it was to not have to take the shoes
Take your
off.
shoes off.
And for people who don't remember pre 9/11, well, and it wasn't even a 9/11 thing. It was like a shoe bomber in some, like, because every rule is tied to something that happened once. Can you
It was
refresh us?
within that kind of wake of us waking up to being worried about terrorists in a way that we weren't before. So it was
Okay.
definitely in that 9/11 kind of world.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, where a lot of different things happened.
So we had to start taking off our shoes. That
Yeah.
annoyed the F out of me. I had to see a lot of socks, a lot of feet that I didn't want to see. But it feels like Kristi Noem might be trying to distract us from something. So how are Americans from this briefing that you're in, how are Americans actually feeling about national security right now? Are we safe?
Well, I can tell you from my briefing that I had just today, 49% of Americans actually think that we are less safe in the Trump administration, and 38% feel that we are safe. So, that tells you a lot. And honestly, girl, I just think this no shoes thing is just pandering. I mean, if they don't know how to do anything else, they know how to pander to their base. They know how to throw them a little bone, a little crumb. You know what I'm saying? Be like, hey, y'all, look over there. You know what I mean? Like, don't pay attention to Netanyahu being here. Look over there. You don't have to take your shoes off anymore. Yay!
Which is, I don't, and I'm so sick of seeing Kristi Noem's face. And so I don't know if anybody's traveled lately, but have you seen her videos playing while you're waiting in the TSA line?
Child, I don't even know what to say. Like, it feels so ickily, dictatory, authoritarian-y, like. And you know what? You hear now, let's keep it a buck. Like when you walking through the airports, you typically hear from the mayor, right?
Mhm,
Uh, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever city that you're in. I'm
mhm.
used to that. I'm okay with that. But girl, you run DHS. Like, what's the message you trying to send here? Like, if
No,
you're
I mean,
a tourist, like, do you want to come
exactly. It's creepy. It's downright creepy, especially coupled with the face scan that you can opt out of, which I can't remember if it was Senator Markley. I can't remember who was like, "Hey, by the way, you can opt out of this face scan, facial imaging," because it is feeling. I keep saying like the fascism that we've been warning everybody about is
here?
actually here now. So let's talk about the budget bill's effect on our national security, because now I'm going, okay, so we cut all this money that was supposed to, help invest in our communities, invest in our infrastructure, invest in the prosperity of America. And it's been redirected to Homeland Security to the tune of billions of dollars for ICE. Can you talk about what this budget bill means to us now?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. You have a sick population or a dead population. That means we're not that secure. So, in my mind, that's a bit of a national security concern, right? I'm one of those people who believe in this concept called new security. And what that means is it encompasses more than just kind of traditional military buildup, security concerns, military concerns. Security simply means if you are insecure, or if there's a level of instability, it then follows logic that it is a security concern. So things like health insecurity, things like food insecurity, things like housing insecurity, all of these impact our national security because it is in the best interest of any administration to have a healthy housed and secure population. Because you know what can happen when people are insecure is what them people did on January 6th, just because, their friend, you know, didn't, win the election the way that they wanted them to. So just imagine hungry, sick people. You know what I'm saying? So it is a situation that can escalate, that can snowball. And where I would typically think that was a big leap to make, not necessarily because we are living in some perilous times right now. You know, more people than ever own guns. More people than ever are on edge. More people than ever are just kind of like worried and scared to go out in public and go to public events because you don't know what's going to happen. And God forbid you have melanin in your skin, ICE might come and swoop you up and send you somewhere nobody in your family has ever been to or have you've even heard of, So there are a lot of fears and insecurities right now, and it can be, Maya, it's a hair trigger situation right now. I am really worried about what that spark can be because we really are in the times where it could just pop off at any moment.
Well, definitely. And this kind of reminds me back in the day when there used to be like the national, like the threat alert that used to pop up on the news. Like, it's like, oh, we're in yellow threat or yellow
Yeah.
territory.
Yep.
And
Yep. Yep.
I'm here in Los Angeles and I'm feeling anxious,
Hmm.
nervous. We just had the situation in Macarthur Park, which looked
Hmm.
to me, was that people are like, oh, it was a publicity stunt. But it looked to me a lot like a training operation. Like they were rehearsing, they were practicing the way they sort of stormed the park. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It was a show of force, point blank. Yeah, I mean, they looked like they basically had on like military gear, like it was military grade gear that they had on. They wanted to scare people. And I just moved from LA, what, about a year and 3 months ago. And if you know anything about MacArthur Park, really?
What?
That's who I mean, homeless veterans? Like that's who you
Like,
trying to roll up on?
yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, fine. There might be a few taco trolleys, but it's a lot of homeless veterans that sleep in MacArthur
Hmm.
Park. And I'm just, what, when I saw that big performance, part of me was irritated because it was wasted resources. And then
Hmm.
secondly, I was like, oh, okay, they're trying to show their strength. They're trying to say, you know, we are coming in here heavily geared up to the T. And inside that big old ugly bill is funding for ICE in a way that historically never happened before. So we're going to see a lot more of that kind of military style ICE look and type of raids. And that's gonna be scary, especially as we're thinking about 2026. I mean, I wreck my brain trying to figure out what kind of stunt Trump is gonna pull to try and stop elections. I mean, look what they did in Miami, where they pushed elections back a whole year.
Mhm. And that goes to the whole thing about feeling secure because free and fair elections are a part of what make us feel secure as Americans, knowing that our voice can be heard. And for people who don't, MacArthur Park it's like smack dab in the middle of the city. Like
Mhm,
it's next to Dynasty Typewriter, which is a famous theater where a lot of comedy
mhm,
happens. It is not a place where you would expect to see a bunch of military vehicles rolling up, and so I'm expressing to people, is this their plan? Are they going to set up shop in different parks? Are they going to take over Central Park? Trump is talking about, oh, okay, well, if they're going to get a socialist mayor, I'm going to go in and take over.
mhm.
And with the
And DC.
money,
Hmm?
say that again,
And DC.
and DC. And now
How
they
you
have
think
the
those
money to
black
do
people
it.
gonna respond, Maya, and
Well,
DC?
that's what I'm saying. Like we've already seen them come into Haitian neighborhoods and try to take people, and I'm like, it's a pressure cooker, which is what they want. And we all know that nonviolent, consistent nonviolent action is a way to grow a
Yeah.
movement. But it does feel like I'm seeing videos out of San Francisco where an ICE agent drove over a protester, and this is again these aren't criminals that they're trying to get out of the country at this point. These are people who are here who maybe overstayed a visa or who
Mhm.
are undocumented or didn't get their paperwork right. Can you talk about what it means to increase the budget on these for ICE, while at the same time also criminalizing, if you will, stripping temporary protective status? And if you could explain a little bit about what temporary protective status is for
Yeah.
people who don't know.
So there are different types of different types of visas, different types of ways that you can get into the country. I worked on an Afghan uh, resettlement mission for 2 years, where that was a lot of our Department of Defense allies trying to get out of Afghanistan because we told them that's what would happen. So that kind of entryway into the United States is something called the SIV, um, a special. I'm gonna international visa. Is it international? I'm skipping what the I stands for, but my point is, there are different types of visas. Like I have a lot of friends who are academics who are here from different countries. I have a friend right now who is waiting on her green card, right? Because she was here on a work permit. So there's so many different types. There's the Einstein visa, um, Melania. There's all different types.
She's a genius of a model. I mean, if you just could like the way with her
That's some hellfight supermodeling.
with it takes a skill set. But with the removing of the temporary protected status, which now that they have the money, they're able to just basically criminalize whoever they want. And so saying that people from Haiti that it's safe to go back to Haiti, but then you go and look at the State Department's do not travel warning for Haiti, and I'm going, okay, if it's safe to go back to Haiti, if it's safe for them to return, why is it not safe for us to travel there? I mean, literally, I think it says like, gang warfare, kidnapping, et cetera. So if we're seeing this, and it's happening mostly to Black and Brown countries, I don't see it happening to other countries that are there. We'll talk about Ukraine in a second. Um, what does that mean for what to me? It feels a little ethnic cleansing to me.
hmm Yeah, country of origin isn't often thought of as like a racialized marker, but it absolutely is, right? Country of origin matters. And we have evidence of it in the travel ban. One of the first things that I said when Trump won, I warned everybody. I was like, there's going to be an extension of the travel ban. And people are like, where are you seeing that? I was like, trust my expertise. I am telling you. There's going to be an extension of the travel ban. And sure enough, there's an extension of the travel ban, and it's mostly Black and Brown countries, a lot of African countries. One thing that this administration does, it comes from Trump. He'll do this thing where you you have to be careful what he says, and you definitely have to pay attention to his actions, because they don't give two f's about lying to people dead in their faces. They will look straight in the camera and lie and say, "Oh no, we love Africa." Okay, like, I think just today, he was confused as to why the Liberian who's here from
Speaks English.
Liberia that they speak English well?
It
You, Donald Trump, are commenting on somebody's English skill set. The
so
irony.
So let's talk about DEI. Let's talk about Pete Hegseth. Let's talk about the fact
Oh,
that
girl.
let's talk about the fact that they paused weapons to Ukraine, and then all of a sudden it was like, and Trump didn't even know. What's going on there? Because this also feels like something that is making us less safe.
So I do think there is a real thing where there are things that Trump do not know. Like, if you just watch when he's at his little desk signing his executive orders, he don't know what he's signing. He
Just
does not know what he's signing. But then he'll say he's in charge of all the things and all the decisions are his, right?
right.
Um, so in terms of what he does know and what he doesn't know, just like Netanyahu outed him by saying, "Oh no, they absolutely know we're going to hit up Iran. They know." And then he was like, "Oh well." So it's always this kind of, there's going to be a lie first, and then it's inevitably going to leak, and some version of the truth will come out, and then the action will be terrible. right? That's the progression here. So regarding Ukraine, which is an issue that I talk a great deal about. Um, so there was a stoppage on sending weapons to Ukraine, and petty Trump, because the conversation with Zelensky didn't go the way that he wanted it to go. He wanted to punish Zelensky. He wanted to punish Ukraine, and then also at the same time, try to win some brownie points with his bestie Trump. So anyway, uh, an agreed upon congressionally approved tranche of weapons were stopped to go to Ukraine. Lots of uproar about it. Lots of uproar about it. Now, here's the thing though. There is a real concern with our stockpile, because we have a situation where we basically have been emptying our weapon stores since 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine for the second time. And with what's been going on in the Red Sea, coupled with our bombing the three facilities in Iran, the three nuclear facilities, our stockpile, specifically of Patriot missiles, are dwindling. And we also have a workforce challenge here in the United States when it comes to building weapons, when it comes to building ships. Like, there's a huge, huge workforce problem when it comes to national security, to the national security sector. So there was this real concern about stopping to kind of like take an inventory of our weapons situation. But what had happened was two things. Trump had a conversation with his bestie that did not go well. He's just not finding out for some reason that Putin is more of a frenemy than a bestie. The rest of us knew, but for some reason he's just finding this out. Okay. So they have a conversation, it didn't go too well. And so then Putin, he comes around and he does like a sneak attack. Like, he goes in the media and says the United States is running out of weapons, y'all. Trump did not like that. So
We
he
have
said,
supply
send
we
the
have
weapons
supply
back to
chain issues.
Ukraine. Girl, this petty type of way of doing foreign policy and international security, that is one of the largest threats to
Mhm.
all of us. I mean, I've never witnessed petty foreign policy like this a day in my professional life. And it's fueled by Trump's emotions, like his whims. Do you know how scary that is?
Oh, I it's terrifying, not just right now in the short term, but in the long term, it's terrifying to me because I'm like, how is this gonna change in the future? Like, how is it going to change who we are at our core if this is what we come to expect? If we come to expect them doing things without congressional approval, if we come to expect and understand and be okay with, it seems like so many things are being normalized and we're just trying to just catch up with just our even our day-to-day lives right now are becoming incredibly stressful because of the chaos on the national scene and the international scene. And so what does this mean for our future? We've got 2026 coming up. We're hopefully going to have, 2028. We'll have a new administration come in, I hope. Uh, what does it mean? How do we get, how do, first, two questions actually. How do we, can we like send out like an SOS to like other countries? Like,
Like, hey, y'all, remember that help we gave y'all those 2 times? Y'all need to run that back.
yeah, seriously. Like, I'm like, does that, because we've never had to do that. And I'm all like, hey, France, it's like somebody help. Like, when do we say that? But also, this isn't who we are. This isn't who the American people are. Yes, there's a small, tiny sector of people. Yeah. And then there's the people who don't pay attention. There's people who didn't vote. But the vast majority of Americans are not okay with this petty foreign policy. I love the way you refer to it as petty foreign policy because it is. Like, where do we go from here?
Somebody said put a call into the ICC. Trump sanctioned the ICC, y'all, just FYI, before Israel bombed Iran, just FYI. So I want to answer this two ways. So there is a domestic concern in terms of what stunt, what is the chief stunt, person going to try to do to halt 2026 elections. That is a real domestic question, right? And then to answer the other part of what you asked, there is a large part of the international community that knows um, that a bulk of the country, we're not MAGA, you know, um, that we are just as frustrated as they are frustrated watching what's happening. However, the fallout from that is there can be sympathy, there can be empathy, but what's happened is an erosion of trust with our partners and allies, especially when that man running around talking about he want to annex Greenland and Canada should be the 51st state. Canada, why are you messing with Canada? What they just do? And now Canada's talking about should we be nuclear capable? Canada? This is a type of instability that is being created in the international community, um situations where countries that you wouldn't think of that would partner, um they are. And personally, which is so interesting to me, when I was at Department of State, you couldn't walk an inch, Maya, down the hallway without somebody talking about China and how China is our biggest threat. Now, in some sectors, we still have, there are still some avenues where business can get done. But in a lot of ways, in terms of surveillance, tech, a lot of different ways, they are our number one aggressive competitor. And so what that means is by Trump, this kind of deterrence first approach, this kind of bullish approach to security, it has opened up an avenue where we are ceding ground to China in terms of diplomacy, a space that we created and cultivate. No, no, let me not do that. Not create, because there are civilizations a lot older than Americans. I didn't mean to say that. But in terms of institutionalize it, in terms of like the UN and, places like that, those institutions were created for a reason. And that was America, and trying to get other countries involved in these massive peace and security projects so we wouldn't have another World War I or another World War II. That is the whole point of the international system, including um, USA, USAID. What now? Can I stand here and look you dead in the face and say that all those agencies are perfect and they were doing perfect and flawless work? No. But do you do the Musk way and you take a sledgehammer up on stage and you just slash and crash it without any sort of plan? No, you don't do that either. So there's so much chaos and instability that's been introduced into our domestic and international system. People are trying to rebound. And what's going to happen, I fear, is that something called a boomerang effect that is going to swing back on America in a very negative way.
And is the timing on that something where it could hit during this administration, or is that boomerang effect gonna
You're like, girl,
happen?
when that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we're definitely seeing some signs, domestically, with the National Security Action polling data that came out this week. We're seeing evidence of even Republicans that are not liking a lot of the ways that Trump is maneuvering, especially by not, getting involved with Congress, especially by ignoring the rule of law, right? That for a lot of them, that's not what they signed up for. Hurt the libs, yes, they signed up for that,
They didn't.
but some of these things they didn't sign up for, and so we're seeing a domestic cost, and if there isn't interference in 26. My guess is we'll also see it. There will be a congressional cost, but the international cost is our traditional allies and partners, they don't trust us. So what does that mean? Our traditional trading partners, which Mexico, Canada, they might start getting stuff from China on top of the tariffs, on top of inflation. So, in as much these things will hurt the administration, it's going to hurt us too, because we're going to be the ones looking crazy, paying $10 for a carton of eggs and $15 at the gas tank. You know what I'm saying? So,
Oh, we're all gonna have chickens. Everybody's just gonna have balcony and backyard chickens with their own eggs. And we're just gonna be bartering like, "Hey, I'll give
listen,
you an egg if you could give me some gas that you're somehow, I don't know, refining in your backyard," is what it feels like. And this does not feel like the golden age or the golden era, whatever the Hell, when he said golden, he meant obviously the Oval Office was going to be layered in gold. Nothing about the actual prosperity of our country. And I'm concerned even with the bill about the investments. Can we, like, our cybersecurity, our, quantum, AI, it feels like, and you talked about the shortage in the workforce for national security. I didn't see the bill cut education. The bill cut research. Can you talk
Research.
about the effect on our ability to innovate and how that affects our national security?
Yeah, well, smart people cause problems. We ask too many questions. I mean, it behooves dictators and authoritarians to have an uneducated um, mass, right? Um, and even in the data that came out today, there historically, but it's showing up even more so. There is such a gap between the things that educated and uneducated people want. And that's not with every uneducated person. I'm not trying to, paint this with broad strokes, but I'm just talking about through a survey lens. There is statistical evidence of there being a huge gap between, those two voting groups. And typically with the uneducated, they kind of are okay with the dictator. They are kind of moving in that direction. King Trump, okay, why not? Let's give it a try. Because for a lot of people, now here is the true and nuanced part. For a lot of people, the system has not worked. And just last night, I was at a dinner, foreign policy dinner, with some colleagues and friends, and we get together like maybe every 2 months or so, and we have these conversations about what is foreign policy going to look like. Does Americans even want foreign policy? Do Americans even want foreign policy anymore? And so we have young folks sitting around the table. And basically what they said was, since they've been on planet Earth, foreign policy hasn't worked. Um, to their mind, they were able to think about maybe one or two examples. And then, of course, the policy nerds sitting around the table, we're like, well, what about this? And what about this? Which is like deep nerd stuff. You know what I'm saying? It didn't make like national news. We're like, well, this policy worked and it was successful, you know, but they have a point. Since, if you're 20 something, you've lived in a world where the Afghanistan war, right? The forever war, school shootings, which is a domestic, issue, and terrorism was supposed to be, the thing, that the fight against terrorism, and here we are now. Terrorism has, reared its head all over again. So all the things that we were supposed to be doing to make things better in their eyes have not worked. So it then stands to reason a lot of people in that age bracket, because here's the thing, Maya, 18 to what is it? 18 to 26. I forget exactly that age group. They are actually leaning more right. They are leaning more to the right because for them, the system has not worked. Let's try something new. So they don't have this reverence and love for democracy and the flag. They can give two, three, four, five F's about that, honey. And so, you know what I'm saying? So there are a series of problems that we need to address,
Mhm.
while at the same time trying to fight this real battle of democracy literally teetering off a cliff.
It's kind of terrifying because the average person right now has no power when it comes to what our foreign policy is. It's not like well, and we may even have the same level of competence of as the people who are in those positions of power, which is also terrifying. Like I'm like, I could probably get together with a few people on the block and come up with better foreign policy than what we're doing. It feels
Uh-huh.
so haphazard. It
Yeah.
feels all over the place. It's embarrassing. And I know a lot of people now are like, could I travel overseas?
Yeah.
Am I safe
Mhm.
to do so? Because what we're being told on one hand, because they were all sleeper cells, and then all of a sudden, no sleeper cells, and then they're like, hey, by the way, you don't have to wear your shoes
Mhm.
anymore. Right? And
Right.
then it's gonna be like, you can bring all the liquids you want. Like, you can bring full shampoo bottles, like, whatever you wanna do.
Girl, that's
And
Trump
so
bad.
It just feels like they're making it up as it's a choose your own adventure every single day,
every single
and it
day.
and it feels like it's the worst possible path. So,
Can we like find something happy to make all those 412 people out there that are watching us? I do not mean to be the doom and gloom lady. I swear, I love life, you know what I'm saying?
w
Which is why I think we do what we do. We're out there, using our platforms as a form of, activism and advocacy, like because
mhm,
we love it. There's a love, a profound love, that we have for it. And I just want to say this because I know we're coming up against our time. The whole time I've been using this windscreen on purpose. So Maya, I don't know if you know, but I'm on Roland Martin every Thursday. And so me and Roland go back and forth. That man, anyway. So last week, I pulled out that cute little microphone and he's like, Nola, take that windscreen off your microphone. You don't know how to use a microphone. It's a windscreen. I'm like, it's cute. And I want people to see my nails. You need to mind your business. So anyway, I have my cute little fuzzy windscreen on my microphone because I think it's cute. So deal with
that's
that,
great.
Roland Martin.
I was like, I kinda wanna put mine back on and
We can start a
but
whole
my
protest.
yeah. But I'm glad you mentioned, positivity because we do like to end every show on a uplifting, positive note, proactive, what can people do? And so from your perspective, we got a lot going on, a lot of disinformation, a lot of chaos. What can the people who are watching, who are saying, "Oh, what do we do?" What's an action plan, some steps? What can people do?
Well, the first thing I'm gonna do is when we done, I'm about to put my air conditioner back on. But secondly, because it just was making too much
Stay well,
noise.
this is actually I wanna say something about that because if we're not staying cool, we're more agitated. Like, a lot of revolutions always happening in the summer.
In the
Like,
heat,
when people are stressed out and it's hot, people get,
right?
agitated. So, yes, everybody,
My
hit the
glasses
AC.
slipping off my face. My blush is melting. Lord. Okay, no, but for real. Call to action. So first and foremost, for all the wonderful people out there that are watching, you want to get engaged with people that you trust. That people that are giving you information that you can trust, so you can have. I think knowledge is power. Yes, there can be burnout, but knowledge is power. So you're doing the right thing. You're following Maya. I'm also on Substack at Nola Hines. I'm on Instagram at Nola Hines. Blue Sky, Threads, all the things at Nola Hines. So that's one thing. Follow people that you trust, and then you also have to figure out what makes sense for you. If you don't feel comfortable and safe out there protesting, there are tons of ways for you to get involved. Especially as we gear up for 26, there are going to be so many need. There's going to be so much need for all persons on deck, from phone banking to social media advocacy to throwing, small little events at your house, tell a friend sort of strategies and campaigns. So there are all different types of ways that you can get involved. And for me, this is just for me, I actually feel better when I'm doing something.
Mm,
Because if I'm
same.
just sitting still and if I'm in my head, because I can only rewatch X Files so many times in my British TV shows. I mean, there's just so many times that I can watch Midsummer Murders. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I
I
can watch
can,
Scandal over and over and over again.
I'm
They just
about
re-released it
to get
on
over.
Netflix. Yeah. I was like, "Everybody, Scandal watch party."
But I have to get out of my head. So keeping busy actually works for me. Um, Fitness works for me, cooking works for me, and then being involved. There really is that Dr. King idea of, service, and so when I'm stuck, when I'm overwhelmed, service helps me. But I know that that isn't the key for everyone. Maybe it's about community for you. So find that community. Maya and I are part of the Persist Network, which is a vast community of a lot of different women. And that community helped me, like, girl, after the election, I was kind of like down deep in it. Like the grief was overwhelming,
It was bad.
Woo! But it was that group, when we got up and we said, okay, girl, we got to get up. What are we gonna do? So keep yourself locked in to folks like Maya and I, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people to get involved, because 26, and I know we say this every election cycle, I cannot stress how important 26 is gonna be, folks. Like, I actually worry that if we don't have major gains in 26, I don't know what's gonna happen to this country.
But we're on an up note,
Oh,
Dr.
yeah,
Haynes.
but
Up note.
we gonna kill it in 26, not only in the House, but also in the Senate. We about to do this, y'all. We about to do this. My bad, girl. My bad, my bad.
So there you have it, everybody. I love all of those tips. And
Can I say one more thing?
yes, you can.
This weekend, I completely forgot. This weekend, I am actually giving a first series of talk for Harvard alumni, Harvard Black alumni, where I'm actually giving some tips about how to build your brand and how to build your platform. So if you want more information, follow me on my socials, go to my LinkedIn at Nola Hines, and you can register there. I had to get that in. So thank you.
Get that in, and it's important because everybody needs to learn how to use their platform
They do.
and needs to use it in a way that's authentic to them because
Mhm.
otherwise it will burn you out. And so everybody, we all have something to say. And so consider your Instagram, whether it's 30 followers or 100 followers
Mhm.
or what have you, or your Substack, it's like your porch,
Yep.
right? And you're hanging out on your porch. And imagine if you had 30 people sitting around your porch waiting for you to say something. That's what, if you
Okay.
have, it's like you're hanging out with your friends and family. That could be your entire audience. And it's important for you to say, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling about these things that are going on in the world right now. And so
Exactly.
it's like all hands on deck moment.
Mhm.
Not because 2026 might be our final chance. No.
But it won't be. We got this. It won't
We
be.
got this.
We got this.
I believe in completely always saying, America, you got this, we got this. And so we're gonna continue that energy and that vibe. I love it. I just got a notification on my phone. My mom just said she loves our energy today. So if Mama May loves the energy, hey mom.
I'm hot, mama. Can you look at my blood? Mama, look at my blush. This is not on purpose. This is not dewy blush.
Now you're just trying to show your nails. Now you're just trying to get your nails in the shot. We all know. We all know. Absolutely wonderful having you on, Dr. Haynes. We have to have you back, so you're welcome
Yes.
back anytime. And in the meantime, everyone, please make sure to check out the rest of everything that's happening at Lincoln Square Media. You can follow my Substack. I know I keep promising to post stuff, and I eventually will, but I'm on Instagram all the time. Maya on stage. We'll see you next Wednesday. My goodness, the time it's flying so fast. It's crazy. But yeah, take time for yourselves, y'all, and we'll see you soon. Bye.